of the investors in the talent sprint, and that also recently we sold to National Stock Exchange. And the third company, which is agriculture company, I miserably failed. Then now I started donating those lands to such site trust and all that, so that at least they will do some meaningful activities there in that land. So why I failed? Mainly because of the labor shortage. So particularly for vegetable growing and orchards and all that, you can't automate those things. You have to depend on earlier we used to get labor from other states. So it seems there also government started giving incentives, sending money to the home, like a salary every month and all the ration free, everything is free. So for them also there is no incentive to come all the way to South India and work in those farming areas. That's one data point. The second data point, my second brother, just younger to me, he had only one son. He still has. So he sent him to BSc Agriculture. That time itself I told him, no IT, no BTech Computer Science. I'm talking about 15 years back. Do some agriculture BSc, you'll be better off than going to any engineering colleges doing BTech. Whereas my brother's wife was insisting he should do BTech Computer Science, but somehow I convinced them. Finally, he did his BSc Agriculture from Engineering University in Hyderabad. Then afterwards, he went to Netherlands, did his postdoctoral in the Wageningen University in Netherlands. Then he came back. He wanted to become an agri-entrepreneur, and his parents wants to get him married, and no parent was willing to give their daughter to him because he is in a village. He wants to do some agriculture project. Though he is very well qualified, they got a lot of lands and a big house with 5 acres campus and all that, but he was not getting married. Finally, I had to request one of my friends who started Jama Botanics, if he's here, Mahesh. So I requested Mahesh, why don't you take him as a co-founder so that he can come to Bangalore. Afterwards, probably he may get married. The moment he went to Bangalore, within a month's time, he got alliances and finally got married. Now he is very well settled. So the reason why I'm telling this story, all the people who wants to do something in the villages, they failed. They're all went back to the urban areas and all that. With that, what is happening in the villages? Villages, all kinds of drugism, alcoholism. They don't have any other work to do, so obviously they will go to internet and go to the wrong sites and all that. They're polluting their mind, polluting the body. And if that continues for a few more years, maybe another 5, 10 years and all that, I don't think, whatever we are calling as demographic dividend for the country, that will become demographic disaster. Because how long government can keep on giving money to them? One day they have to stop when there is no revenue. When they stop, these people, they don't know what to do because they become so lazy. They got accustomed to taking all the free money and all that. You just imagine 10 years fast forward, what will happen to the rural India? That will be disaster. Whatever happened in Bangladesh recently, that kind of revolution may come from the rural India, and whatever good things that we do in Hyderabad and Bangalore, if some thousands people or lakhs of people, they come and do, whatever we have, they will take away because for their own existence. So for a high dense population like India, we cannot leave our rural India neglected. Already we are neglected. I think we have to follow Mahatma Gandhi's principle. He wanted to empower the rural India. Then only rural, urban, there will be proper connect will be there. Then whole country will be a sustainable and successful nation. So that was the idea why we thought of having this important roundtable called Rural Economic Forum. We want to empower the rural people either through the startups or through whatever the agriculture mechanism, whatever they produce. We have to make sure that they are able to sell the products in the global market or Indian market and all that. Once they see that kind of a success, maybe instead of going to the other route, probably they will all come into this kind of economic activity. Then automatically they will start looking at. So that was the idea. We created one REF organization in Bangalore last year. Then we submitted a proposal to Honorable Prime Minister. See, I know Srini Raju must have attended many Davos World Economic Forums, and K.S. Raju Garu also, you must have attended many. I have not attended, but I don't know what happens in the Davos World Economic Forum, I don't know. But more important, I thought Rural Economic Forum is more important than the World Economic Forum. If we can create a Rural Economic Forum, all the world leaders should come here, whatever the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, and they have been talking about it for the last so many years, nothing has happened. So at least we thought that we'll pick up some of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations and pick one or two and experiment in India and see that all the SOPs are properly designed and all that. Then we can take it to the next state or next country so that this can be replicated in other places. That was the idea, and we requested KPMG to prepare a report on that. We recently had a meeting with Pemasani Chandrasekhar, Dr. Pemasani Chandra, who is a Rural Development Minister from Andhra Pradesh. We had a big meeting with him. He gave some suggestions, and we are going to actually take some ideas from this roundtable, and we request KPMG to add those elements, and we want to submit this report to Honorable Prime Minister. See that India declares REF as a headquarters for India, so that other countries, if they say that REF is going to happen in one of the G20 countries, we lose that opportunity. Once REF headquarters is decided by Honorable Prime Minister, all the world leaders can start coming to India, and they'll see what is happening in India. The same thing probably we can replicate, so that the investments also can come, and more importantly, the rural areas can be uplifted through this economic activity. So that's where, I request all of you, whoever sitting in the audience also, this is a round table, this is not a panel discussion, and we want to come with a clear recommendations before we submit the final proposal. So this is the context. Now I request each one of you who are assembled here, and also from people who are in the audience also can give your thought process. What is doable? What are the low-hanging fruits? Theoretically, we can do so many things. But immediately what we can do, how we can prove that, yes, this is a sustainable, doable model, so that our Government of India also will see that, yes, it is doable. We can start a small experiment. Like I keep telling, India started one pilot as an experiment, which was in 1985, creating software technology parks of India. It was a pilot. They don't want to continue. They don't want to give all the powers to one officer. So this pilot was given to only one company called Texas Instruments in Bangalore. Then the committee of secretaries, they were asking me to send the report every month. Oh, we have given a lot of powers to you. Are you misusing the powers or using the powers? But that experiment, today, every IT industry all over the country, we created a lot of economies. So similarly, we have to create one such experiment for the Rural Economic Forum. If that experiment succeeds, probably we can replicate whatever IT has done for the country. The same thing through REF, we want to do it. Maybe in technology terms, last in, first out. So since Srini Raju came, the last person to come, I'll ask him to give his thought process to start with.
Good morning to all of you. I don't want to make it like our friends thing going on here. As he said that, I've known him from 1992, and how he has helped shape first Bangalore and then Hyderabad, then the journey that we followed. So my observations, let's look at the Indian economy as primarily into three different categories. Actually, there are four of them, but one is agrarian economy, other one is manufacturing economy, the third is the service economy. In service economy, again, there are two parts. One is Bharat, the other one is India. So very often we tend to mix them up. We just say India means everything, isn't it? I'm just only to make a point, I'm saying it. The Bharat is that 1.2 billion people who make less than 15,000 rupees or whatever that, 144,000 rupees per annum, average. And India is what, we combine Mukesh Ambani, Adani and all of them and say that we are doing very well. Okay. So that's about 200 million. This is the reality of life. So when we talk many things, like the other day, if you saw the speech by the Prime Minister for the NRIs in New York, That is all for the 200 million Indians. Okay. So people like us, I have been to his house quite a number of times in Anantapur, and we all come from the first generation people. His father was a teacher, but my father was a 3 acres farmer. 3 acres my father had when he started his thing. And at that time, they were able to send the child to school with 3 acres. So I'll give a small example for you, not to criticize anybody, small example to you to drive the point. 40, 50 years ago when I was in the village, somebody has 100 acres of land, he was considered to be a very rich man. Somebody who has 1,000, they were considered to be jamindars. Now, let us compare today 100-acre landlord, 1,000-acre landlord with a job here. The income out of the 100 acres is 25 lakhs rupees, approximately. Little bit more, little less, as 25 lakhs. That's the salary of a startup engineer here from IIIT Hyderabad. And 1,000 acres multiplied by 10, 2.5 crores. If there are any professionals around this thing, it will be salary of that professional. The CXOs. So what happened? What happened is that we created these two societies. The larger part of our population, which is agrarian, we kept them poor by keeping the food prices low. Everybody says, no, food prices have to be low, so that all the money can be spent for telephone, TV, Netflix. That's why these companies become trillion-dollar companies overnight. They're not becoming just because of that. Because the money you give 4,000 rupees pension to a family in Andhra Pradesh, first thing they do is they have to pay 300 rupees or 320 rupees to the telecom company, otherwise they'll disconnect it. The second thing is they have to pay to the TV fellow, otherwise they'll disconnect it. Then finally, how much they're spending for food? Almost nothing, because they get free rice also, 5 kilos. So as long as you do that, saying that food has to be free, we are going to keep, by design, we are going to keep half of our population poor. That's the reality of it. So we keep talking with the lawmakers saying that, why people have to pay so less of their income on the food? Let's put it up slowly. Overnight we cannot do it. If you don't lift that thing up, they'll remain poor forever. And then, like he said, his nephew, the same problem will come. Nobody will do it. Of course, people still live there because not all of them can come here. But they live a poverty life. If you have to take care of that population also, the urban consumers have to pay a little bit more to the food. By the way, this is not only India. Most of the countries do the same thing. The poorest of the people in every country is the one who is actually producing food for all of us. Okay? It's just a conflict. It's a kind of a contradiction of life. Now, we are saying that, okay, fine, how do we uplift their incomes? A lot of people worked on various things. He has also given a lot of examples kind of thing, all the way from we say that we'll grow, the crops that give higher higher income. We do the food processing units. We do this, we do that. Some people went all the way into saying we'll create a rural shoring kind of thing. We set up actually service, low cost service businesses there so that remotely they can work. It's all nice actually. I have seen some people have done wonderful jobs around it. But that's not sufficient. So all that I say is we need to be very realistic about what is feasible, what is not feasible, and see then we try to find the solutions for it. The solutions for quite a few of our problems that we have today, the higher end of it, which is the technology, AI, and all the, yes, there are challenges there also, but we'll find. The business people find solution for their business people, the well-educated people find solution for themselves. It is the middle one which has not happened. That's, as I talked about two of them, that is agrarian, service, the manufacturing. The manufacturing, all these, the hard work of Mr. Chaudhary and all of them, $200 billion exports, every month we send it to China. We import everything. Probably if you see here, most of the things must have been imported here. Because we make very little here. There's a reason. We started 10 years ago saying we'll do Make in India. It didn't work out. We'll say Atmanirbhar, didn't work out. And I looked into it. It's not, I'm not talking from general thing, and Mr. Chaudhary knows that I have funded another thing called Sri City, those of you who would have heard it. So we do that as an experimental place. It's really the farthest place you can go in Andhra Pradesh. From Hyderabad is the farthest place you can go, fully neglected, reserved constituency. So that's why we were, but good thing is next to Chennai. It's just the bordering with Tamil Nadu. Then we started learning a lot of things. There are 220 companies today from 30 countries. So we have data. What works, what doesn't work for these kind of things. What I have realized talking to them is, it's very interesting how we think. Somebody I met there and said, why didn't you make in India instead of making some of those richer economies? They said, we have already invested there in CapEx. We can't move it. But if you make CapEx, we'll move operations. So these are the challenges. So we reached out to Government of India. I said, slogans won't bring business. Please, they're all business people. If we just say that, please come and invest in my state, please come invest in my district, they're not going to do that. They want to see the value for that. What is that you're going to get it? So we should have done a hand-holding. Like any business you're all running, isn't it? $1 billion will have a president, vice president, very structured to achieve that. So we were suggesting to the government that every $1 billion we import in consumer goods, I'm not talking about capital goods and high-tech, just talking about consumer goods. You make an officer in charge of it and ask them why it is not happening. What is that we need to do to make it happen? Finally, with PLI scheme, we have semiconductors happening, isn't it? That's because somebody focused on that. If we focus at the Government of India level, which has to happen there, state governments, all their money is gone into that scheme, this scheme. There's no money available, please. It's only Government of India, because they're also saying our money is also over, but luckily they can print it. State governments cannot print it, isn't it? They have to stop it at some point borrowing. With the Government of India, they have a little bit more leeway. So if they focus on each of them, like what we are talking about it, then start. Some of these consumer manufactured goods, consumer goods, can be done in towns and all of them. They don't have to be here in Hyderabad and Bangalore kind of thing. They can be done a little away kind of thing, because they don't mind, and also consumers are also there. Most of them are very close to the consumers there. But there is a structural problem. When the Indian economy is few $1 billion, we had one secretary, one additional secretary, 2 joint secretaries. Today, these $200 billion or $500 billion, we have the trade, same people. Where do they have time? They're all very busy with their work. Half the time they get called by the bosses into the meetings kind of thing. So they have not yet resolved the issue of structural issues. It's to be able to focus. And my personal belief is that if you focus like we have done in other things, he gave an example. They focused on saying, I want to make the IT work in this country. They said, go figure it out, thanks to Mr. Vittal and the people that existed then. So then they came up with various suggestions, and all of them, it has happened. And I have seen myself few of them. In 2014, we suggested to the government that cell phone manufacturing is not happening in this country. You know why it is? The duty on the imported phone was less than the components, which we normally call it as inverted duty structure. So we went to the government, represented to them, they fixed that problem. Still 10 years gone, we still only assemble. We use a wrong word called manufacturing. It is actually assembly. No manufacturing has come to this country yet. In that segment also, though we say we are exporting iPhones, it's actually mostly they're all made in China, because America is putting some restrictions there. They bring to India, do little, assembly, export from here. So it's kind of circumventing some of the other issues. But a time will come that we have to start making the components and all of them in this country. So there's still a huge potential, but it all requires the focus.
Srini, are there any low-hanging fruits for uplifting the rural economy in the next 2 years? Suppose we have to focus, as you rightly mentioned, focus is really required. So actually, the reason why I requested KPMG team to have you have brought your team also. So they're going to actually put all those things. What are the 1 or 2 low-hanging fruits in the rural areas which can be implemented and show the results. Once we show the results, probably everybody, cascading will start happening. So can you suggest, with your vast experience in Sri City, one or two low-hanging fruits in either of the Telugu states, if you think that can be added, probably that will be useful for the discussion. Then I will ask Nimmagadda Ravishankar to give his experience. Anyway, I'll come back to you, but think through what are those 2-3 low-hanging fruits. So now I request Dr. Nimmagadda Ravishankar from New Jersey. Though he is from Krishna district, I adopted him to Anantapur districts. So I attached Nagabhushan Raju, who is doing a lot of rural development, rural innovation, rural startups. So I attached him. Can we create any success stories in Anantapur using Atal Incubation Center, where a lot of agri and rural startups are this thing? So what is your experience? How can you think that we can create quickly few examples of success, low-hanging fruits? Ravi.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me on this roundtable. The main challenge in the rural places, as I see, is the lack of engagement. So lack of engagement in terms of identifying the problems. The problems can be their own problems, or the problems can be the Bharat's problems, or the problems that could be of international domain problems. So it would then lead to a question of how do we provide mentorship, how do we provide a structural thought process, how do we give a business wrap around it. While Srini Rajugaru said that some of the manufacturing and some of the larger opportunities, if we can approach it from a very small components of problems that we can really solve, for example, building water reservoirs, or some kind of building banks to the canals, or cleaning up the canal fronts, kind of things. These are not the responsibilities of the governments. In the times that you mentioned, that when we were all children, government was not doing all this. These were all done by the cooperatives. The kind of cooperation between the members of a village were very different, but that kind of a fabric was broken as a result of the urbanization. I think we need to really go back to building that kind of a fabric, that kind of a mindset. And we need to give a business and opportunity and problem solving to the youngsters who are really coming in. The youngsters don't have the same kind of factional issues that had in the transitional times, but the younger people, they want to really solve problems, they want to learn things, they want to really build and set up. Once we can address some of the capital side of the issues and investment side of the issues, which is an external intervention and assistance needed, but from an operations, from a skill sets, from enablement, there are a lot of things that are possible. The good and bad news is a lot of this industry and technology, global recession, there is a lot of mid to senior management is going to be very obsolete. So that there is going to be a problem of employment from those places. But at the same time, if you can repurpose them to be the leaders, to be the mentors, because they have seen organizations, they have seen the processes, they have seen the metrics, they have seen the productivity. If we can apply some of that to our rural places, it would make a lot more sense to build small and micro enterprises to be able to lift this up. And the problems that we can identify can be varied in nature. They can be agricultural, they can be very basic consumer durables, consumer products, logistics, healthcare. You just take it any different. Sometimes I wonder that we solve many problems for the Western community, but we never thought about solving our own problems. And we under-recognized our problems, we under-invested into our problems. Sometimes we don't even have not seen that these are the problems, because we are so conditioned to really looking at things in a certain way. So we have to really take a slightly different approach.
Yeah, Ravi, I have, you are mentoring one person who used to work in the Accenture in Bangalore. Now he has returned back to his village, and he has got some agri products and all that, but he was not able to scale up. So now you are trying to make him successful. See, the reason why I am bringing this to you, I see that in the next 5 years, thanks to automation, a lot of people who went from villages to work in the IT industry, all the services industry and all that, many of them are going to be laid off, or we don't know because of the automation. Do you think there is a possibility that we can bring them back to the villages and whatever Partha has done, and that model can be scalable and structured?
Absolutely, sir. It is not only scalable, but it's also repeatable in other segments as well. It's not only on the natural farming of agricultural products. Ananta Naturals is one of the companies that I have interacted. The model is great. The effort has been phenomenal. The dedication, it's none to the second, right? So it's a phenomenally dedicated effort.
Srini, I just wanted to see this Partha. Sorry to interrupt. He worked in the industry in Bangalore and came back to his village. He is now growing whatever the organic products and all that. He has got a market because he used to live in a gated community in Bangalore, his friends and all that. He is able to use that network and able to survive and all that. So what Ravi is trying to, you're able to sustain and survive, but there is a possibility for you to go up in the ladder, export them. That's where people like you have to step in. And once you create that success story, maybe all other people, instead of working for somebody likely to be laid off and all that, if you can make more money and become an entrepreneur with a pride, maybe that could be some model which I am thinking maybe you need to correct.
So no job is a superior job or an inferior job. It's all about what we have really created as the kind of constructs, right? Like the example for your nephew that you said that he's not able to get a marriage alliance is because of the kind of the constructs, the narratives that we have created. A lot of times we are locked in our own narratives. So it is time for us to really push some of the narratives that are more relevant and meaningful and that are going to be useful in constructing the India that we want, the Bharat that we want. And there is a role that we all have to play in that process. And what I have observed is it is not as difficult as we all think. It's all about doing a focused experiment for a little bit of period. You just need to put them from that orbit to the next orbit, then they'll be on their own. So all you have to do is you have to change that narrative a little bit, get them to the next level. That little track change is what is real.
Yeah, if this reverse migration from cities to villages, if that is going to happen in scale, a lot of things will happen. Once they come back, they will do something, then they will take local people. I think that is a doable. I'm also thinking that, we need to enable a structure where whoever is coming, give 5 acres on lease basis and provide all the assistance and take the products and process it and export whatever it is possible. If that is a reality, Raju, since you have been supporting a lot of rural startups, particularly agriculture startups, do you think this is possible for us to experiment, take who are working in the IT industry, because Anantapur is closer to Bangalore, and if you can provide an alternate mechanism, they're getting not only monthly, not necessarily income, it's a salary, but his own income. And plus, he's becoming an entrepreneur. There's a model where he can scale up, like what Ravi is doing with Partha. Is that a possibility with your experience in Atal Incubation Center at Anantapur?
Yes, sir. Anyway, first of all, thank you very much for all the panel members. In fact, it's a real news, the difference between Bharat and India. In fact, what we have been doing, in fact, Partha, the example which we are taking is Anantapur. Ananta Naturals is the startup with us some 3 years back. And when we were interacting with him, and he came from Infosys and then Accenture, and then Upanesanpalli is the village, very close to SK University, where our incubator is there. And probably we told them that why can't he utilize the opportunity of networking his contacts to sell whatever he is doing as agriculture. And then, he concentrated, and then we connected him with a number of mentors. And over the 2 years, and we could not bring him back. The feedback that I got, Mr. Ravi, is he's gone into a loop, kind of a software subroutine. And he's not able to come out of it. And he has to be brought out of that in order. He's comfortable.
Maybe he's happy with that.
He's happy
income.
with that. But he required next, if he has to go to next orbit, probably we require.
That's where mentoring is required.
Exactly, sir. And that's what exactly we are doing at Atal Incubation Center. In fact, the very purpose, the business plan which I went to Niti Aayog, some 6 years back in 2017, when there were 3,650 applicants for getting Atal incubation centers in the country. All the other applicants were, they were pitching for so many startups, so many mentors, so many all these things. But I went with a different business plan altogether, because I am coming from a tier 3 or tier 4 town, predominantly rural population, rural students. And my business plan basically was, my startups will be only little, but I will be sensitizing 50,000 students over a period of 5 years, rural students towards entrepreneurship, and 5,000 faculty towards innovation and entrepreneurship, and 1,500 entrepreneurs who will be really trained on the job, because there are startups coming parallelly on the incubation center. So in fact, this has really caught up the selection committee of the Niti Aayog. When I focused on my model was really, workable. They thought at the end of the 6 rounds in 2018, there was no Zoom, only Skype filtering was there. At the end of the 7th round, Mr. Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, was telling me, Professor Raju, where is the Sri Krishna Deva Raya University? Entire board supported you. And of the 3,600 applicants, they selected only 13 incubation centers all over the country. And Sri Krishna Deva Raya University was the only state-funded university in the entire country for that year to get it.
Congrats.
It is only because of the business plan and the concentration on the rural population, sensitizing of the rural students, because they are there living with day in and day out with problems. That's where the society problems are there. Problems are there in societies, in communities, in municipalities, in agricultural fields, because that's where we need the sensitization to happen.
So what I suggest, Raju, between Ravi and Raju, both ours, you need to come out with what are the models. Structurally, we have to give it to KPMG, taking example of Partha or this thing, so that it's a low-hanging fruit. It's already happening. Maybe we have to give it a little bit more, better structure, more mentors, and see that they become super-duper success. Once that happens, all of us, they will say, oh, my son also wants to do that, and people who are working in Bangalore, instead of working in Bangalore with all the high costs and all that, they rather go back and help their parents and all that. Somehow we have to start that reverse migration at scale. Then automatically things in villages will start showing up, and this whatever the taboo, this thing, people not getting married because of they're staying, all that will become this thing. I think I request both of you to work on that. Then I'll go to Captain Bobby. You have something else?
One closing point on this, sir. So years ago, when we all started the computer programming and software engineering, the skills of COBOL and technology and all any languages, they were all to be trained, and companies really spent a lot of time. I was an alumni of Infosys, alumni of Satyam. So I've seen the amount of effort that these companies have really spent in training people. But are we really putting that kind of an effort for the rural folks to be able to solve? They don't need to learn COBOL, but they need to know how to use an internet, how to use ChatGPT. These tools were not available before. Now they are democratized. So we are at the Amrit Kal. We are at the golden moment. So we need to really look at the tools as the tools for the rural and the people who earlier otherwise erstwhile didn't have an access. That's number one. Number two, the automation is eliminating jobs from the traditional corporate. It's reducing the need of the real labor. But if you can really bring that automation back into the rural place, we can actually solve the problem of labor shortage that we have in the villages, but bring light automation to be able to lift up the productivity from the agrarian communities. That's number two. Number three is what Professor Nagbhushanam said, is the sensitizing. The sensitizing from an incubation center is a great example. I spent a lot of time with Dr. Mauly to understand the historic work done. And the learnings from that sensitization process now can be expanded to a greater scale, not only in one location, but also can be in many areas, and use the technology as a medium, as a tool to be able to do that. If we can combine these pieces together, then the reverse or the de-urbanization, reverse migration will happen because that will become a mainstream natural phenomenon.
Thank you, Ravi. Now, Captain Bobby, since you came from Adilabad, from a small tribal family, then became a commercial pilot, now you are helping all the northeastern states, working with the chief ministers and trying to do something. What do you think it is workable to help those northeastern states? I know that many of those girls come all the way to Hyderabad to work in spas and all that. I feel very bad about them. They are very good communicators, very good looking, but still they do all kinds of these things. Is there any possibility for us to focus on northeastern states and create some opportunities for them in their own states instead of they traveling all the way to cities like Hyderabad and all that, so that when you can create a rural economy and also they can work with pride? Are there any such opportunities that you are suggesting to the chief ministers of those northeastern states?
Thank you, sir. And definitely when we talk about rural economic growth, it's not only in Northeast. The whole nation today's date requires this. And for this, today, sir was talking about reverse migration. Reverse migration is possible when reverse learning is happening. Reverse learning is happening only when the bureaucrats in the top level, the policy makers, the regulator makers, don't make the policy based on their expertise. They should make the policies based on what is fit for that particular state, because every state, every district has a different occupation, different culture, different mindset. So this is it's not an easy task as we talk about a rural development, but yes, to be very open to you, sir, before I could say something today, I stand over here and share a dais with Srini Raju Garu because he was the one who mentored me to be a pilot for my aviation.
Fantastic.
And I'm really, really thankful for Srini Raju Garu. Thank you so much, because today, not only I am helping myself, I'm helping a lot of people to become pilots, and also with the mentoring of Jay Chaudhary Garu, I am doing a lot of awareness programs in terms of startups. So government has a lot of schemes, sir. You talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra loans, but these are the policies which are only lying on the paper with black and white. This is not actually reaching the bandwidths, the actual people. So here what ISF can play a role, Srini Raju can play a role, Srini Raju sir, because he is having his SEZ. We have to kind of go identify one district, one product. Because in Araku I have visited, there's a lot of organic agri products, and I have identified 22 organic agri products. Today, most of the agri products they use for themselves and they just dump it and they go, sir. You talk about Paderu and Araku. So if at all we kind of create entrepreneurs in the local candidates who has little bit of leadership qualities, we need to see the person who has the knowledge, the leadership qualities. Because when I knocked at the Srini Raju sir's door, he has interviewed me, I still remember, for 30 minutes, and he said, I am there for you. So that kind of a confidence gives you the belief in yourself that you can march forward. And that is where ISF and all the organizations and the stakeholders who are sitting over, I expect everybody to handhold one person and make the difference. Today, policies are there, ecosystem is there, but the mentors are not there, and the mentors should be very, very focused. Because there was one program which was run by Facebook called Goal Program in integration with Tribal Ministry, and I was one of the mentors. That was a big flop because they identified the mentors and the mentee was given. There was a mismatch, conflict of interest in these startups. So what I feel over here as an ISF platform, I would say that coming to Andhra Pradesh, sir, what I realized in Northeast, we export eggs. And all the fish comes from the Andhra. And it takes 5 days over there to reach. And the local people eat a lot of fish over there because it is Northeast, and even the Bengalis are settled over there. So these kind of things we need to identify, talk to the government and create a SEZ over there. We be the command center by creating the forward and backward linkages to them, because the major concern is the forward and backward linkages and the capital capex. So now, in order to start a small SEZ, we can use of the Mudra loan, which is up to 20 lakhs right now without collateral. So in integration with the government, in integration with the ISF, SEZ stalwarts and the industry stalwarts, they can recruit or ignite by giving the awareness program, identify the first batch, automatically you will see, because today I come from Adilabad, Dandepalli village, and there is one village called Dharmapuri. They saw my article, and one day I receive a call saying that, Bidda na koduku kuda pilot chestava ani. And today, that guy is flying with Air India, and his first wings, when he was wearing, his father said, call Bobby Akka and tell that you have become a pilot. So this is the satisfaction we all can have. But we need to be really true to ourselves. We need to be honest with what we are doing. So there is everybody involved. It is an ecosystem. One person cannot change it. And to be a change agent, we need to work like a team, and we need to change our attitudes. Because from the rural people, there are a lot of challenges. Generally, we make judgments. अरे इससे नहीं होता है. आप क्या करोगे? एम चेस्ता हो. Aim idea सुने. See, he might be having a wonderful idea. See, today, in aviation industry, after flying, I know that by 2030, you need 100 simulators. And each simulator, it costs per hour $500, and in a year, you kind of log in 7,000 hours. So you can calculate what is it. And if at all wear and tear for one simulator, you can have 3 to 4 simulators where buy one, get one free comes for you. So there is a lot of inside, if at all you literally see. But what is happening? We are only kind of talking about connecting the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, but we need the talent pool ready-made, like over there. Sir, in Sri City, I have one suggestion, sir, because as you are saying, there are 200 companies who are already manufacturing over there or who are into the service segments. Each manufacturing unit will definitely need a raw material or something. So if at all we can identify one segment from the bottom of the barrel people and connect to them, and they'll be supplying as a small agent, as a small vendor, the journey starts. You are creating a mindset. You are seeding them, and then we need to kind of bring in a lot of awareness program, because when I was kid, my dad used to say, kuch naukri kar le, shadi kar le, and then sit at home. Because this is what we've been taught in the middle class and the lower segments. And rural segments, 70% of the population comes from the rural segment. So right from the childhood, we've been seeded that you study engineering, you become a doctor, or you study engineering and based on your professions, try to get a job, and we feel very happy, we get married. But when you talk about Ambani's kids, when you talk about Wipro, Premji's kids, they don't work. They are never kind of given that kind of a mindset. They will say that you be a CEO of an organization. So whenever as a TEDx speaker, I go to the universities and I talk to the people, I say, don't think of doing a job for somebody. You be a job creator instead of being a job seeker. So that's where the mentality, the mental status of a kid starts reviving. So it is a continuous journey, sir, and definitely we can do.
ISF is doing only that.
Yes, sir. And in Northeast also, there are a lot of organic products where you can talk about ginger, you can talk about turmeric, and there's a lot of bamboo shoots over there. And today, bamboo is in a big demand.
What I suggest, Bobby, from Northeastern point of view, what are your ideas which can be given to KPMG team? Similarly, why don't you take Sri City as an example? Whatever you suggested, I think is doable. Work with Srini offline and see how that experiment can be implemented, which can be scalable later on. So give such low-hanging fruits within 1 year. We have to show to the government, yes, these were the things we thought about it, and we made it happen. Then they will get, we'll get the funding, we'll get everything. Then things will start flowing down. So those are the two your action items. Start working on that.
Thank you, sir.
Because she has to go for another meeting. Manisha, who heads the Infosys Foundation, Sudha Murthy role, she has now taken. Manisha, I know that though you are not directly connected to Infosys, now you are part of the Infosys Foundation. Now we are looking at, for example, Infosys is going to lay off X number of people, maybe about 100 people, for example. No, not lay off, say they're not properly performing and they are in the pink list. That's not layoff. Okay? If they're going to be in the pink list, instead of, you may be having a severance package. Normally, in the corporates, you have a severance package. Apart from the severance package, can Infosys Foundation, you have a lot of money, I know you have thousands of crores money sitting in the foundation. In addition to that severance package, can you also propose to make them as an entrepreneur, because most of them come from a rural background, agriculture background and all that. Okay, this is your package and this is the money, supporting money from the foundation. This is the seed money. You let us know, ISF will do the matching contribution for them, and we will also give some idea when they get back to the village. We are working on the model so that we'll make sure that they become a micro entrepreneur going back to the village and creating a new economy. Is that a possibility?
Sir, I wouldn't take that as a good example at all.
No, whatever example I'm thinking, I mean,
So
see,
I would say it's more like this, that from
I give only disruptive examples, disruptive
Sir,
ideas.
the major thing is that from CSR money, we cannot do anything related to employee benefit. However, keeping that aside, I understand the essence of the question. So
You have to innovate there.
Yes, the point is that can we use the CSR money to help people earn livelihood?
Your own employees, you are not helping others, your own
No, we
Infosys
can't-
employees.
From CSR, we can't do anything for employees, but we can do for the larger community, and that's what we want to do.
Okay.
So we are spending lots of effort on helping rural people get livelihood, and we've observed that there are 3 types of gaps we have. One is skill gap, another is aspiration gap, like many people mentioned that they don't even have role models. And what I believe in is that if you can see it, you can do it. So the aspiration gap, and the third is awareness and the knowledge gap. So that these three things, that is what we are working on. And when it comes to the CSR, we, instead of going into, because there's so much that you can do, at least with now with the foundation, I have certain mechanisms in which we can steer the decision making. So we're saying let's focus on livelihood, employment or livelihood, one of the two. And what we observed is these are the 3 points we need to do. And I'm really focusing on the rural, because typical tendency of CSR is that we would like to do it near our campus. But we are avoiding that. We're saying, can we do it in the rural? Because that is where more help is needed. Lots of experts from CSR like KPMG told us that most of the CSR happen in the backyard. It should happen away from your own backyard. So we are also focusing on that how do we do it in rural area, what can be done. Consciously efforts are made. And the awareness gap is the biggest one, sir, where we are trying to see how can we create role models, how do we tell people. Even for the scholarships, where the government is giving scholarship, only about 18%, actually there is 18.7% of the scholarship, which is amount which is budget is put in the budget for students, is actually utilized, because students don't know there is. So we are trying to bridge those gaps so that it becomes a systemic change. Instead of, we give scholarship, we'll give 100 crore, 200 crore, 300 crore. We'll never be able to match government, which is like 20,000 crore. We can't do that. So we are trying to work on such gaps. So if when the KPMG report comes and we understand what are the gaps where we play, we call it working with the system and bringing in systemic change. Instead of doing my 1 rupee goes to one person, no, my 1 rupee should multiply by 100 and help. That's what we are trying to do. So that is one aspect. Another thing which I wish it is documented somewhere and we do something around that is whenever there is a, they say that rural people, I actually ask this question to people, why are people poor? Because everybody can work. And we have great examples of people from anywhere can do anything, especially in India. So they said people are poor because, by the way, this I was having a conversation with a person from MIT and Harvard. And he works in Bihar in the social sector. So I asked him this, that why is there a reason? Because work is available for everybody. So he said it's because whenever there is a problem in the poor family, like death or anybody not well, that is when the whole family is brought down by 10 years. Otherwise, hand-to-mouth work they do. They're working very hard. So if there are some interventions we can do related to that, even if we can work on that, where we say, okay, don't give money as for the livelihood or to every month, don't give. But when somebody dies in the family, give money, because that is when they need the money and that's when they pull it back. So this nobody thinks about why are people poor and what is not reaching the rural. And we would like to bridge gap on that. We're working in it.
Yeah, maybe what I suggest, livelihood, rural livelihood programs, whatever you have, maybe you can share it with Sandeep and see if that can be improvised, create more livelihood programs in the rural area. Infosys as a anchor for this thing. Once it is successful, probably we'll go to other foundations. Similar thing we will.
We are trying to create a template which can be
Correct.
repeated.
Correct. So please work with Sandeep. Maybe one more request, Manisha. So I know that government, all the rules, Senior Raju can tell you. When I was at the government, I used to break all the rules.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you're in a foundation, that to Infosys Foundation. Don't go with your structured approach and all that. You are there for a certain period. You try to break and say, no, for the country, this has to be done. You have to be bold, and we can help you. What are the
To really bring in the change, I wouldn't even say that let's wait for somebody to be laid off or performance related.
No,
I
laid
would
off
say
is
that
a-
let's
okay.
reach out to the best of Infosians or best of the
Sure.
corporate people and make them mentors.
Sure.
And that should be done today. We
Yeah.
don't have to wait for some.
Excellent
I would
session.
like to do that. Sir.
Excellent session.
Yeah.
So I request you to work with Sandeep. What are those 2-3 things in the next 1 year? How Infosys can champion, Infosys Foundation can champion those things that can bring some light in the rural area. Thank you. Now I request Professor Siddharth, in your academic journey, you must have given a lot of ideas, and so do you have any such innovative ideas, not theoretical ideas, which are easily, practically possible for us to implement those things in the next 1 year?
So
You are from SRM University. Yeah.
So just a little disclaimer, I'm not an academic. I'm an entrepreneur since last 21 years. I have 5 life ventures as we speak, customers in 71 countries. And, prior to that, I was, like normal for many of us, was a corporate animal, engineering, MBAs, went to Harvard for studies, large MNCs. So I see this opportunity of working with an academic, institution. When it came about, I felt that in this entire system that anybody who is, all of us are working with the output. This is one segment of the society that works with the input. Okay, the students were there at that stage, at moldable stage. So whatever productivity, efficiency outcomes we create is with the output. If it can be really brought in at the input stage, is going to be a sea change in terms of the outcomes. That's what brought me into this space now parallelly. Now the things that we just talked about, I'll more than ideas, just share the a live experience that which is exactly on the space that we are discussing. So when I came into SRM University, one of the interesting thing I observed, there are about 1,200 plus universities in India and 60,000 plus other colleges, which are not yet universities, deemed or etc., standard engineering colleges. All of these 60,000 plus, institutions, very interesting, outside of some standalone institutions like the ISS or XISS, we did not have a single center for social entrepreneurship in any university across the country. This talks of IITs, IIMs, and everywhere. Somewhere there are, like sir mentioned, some experiments of using existing ones and steering them towards that, rather than actually having centers that are only motive is for that. So because largely entrepreneurship worldwide has been a self-serving mechanism. It's making individuals richer. That's it, the design came from there, rather than society-serving mechanism or changing at that. So I think the first thing that I've done, which I think as a policy level, Sandeep perhaps would make a note of that, is we created India's first university-based center for social entrepreneurship, because we said it just doesn't exist. Somebody has to take and say this should be there to talk about it. Now, when we did that, that's where perhaps a second policy intervention could come, which all of these actually happened to us. So I'm just, more been, I would say, fortunate in that. This is a small company out of Chennai, a corporate. I think Manisha could, see how it works for Infosys in that context. Very small, known-ish company called Polymedia. I met their CEO in some of the interactions in one of these forums, and I said, I have a program which is going to actually make entrepreneurs within next quarter, and in hundreds of them, purely from rural, that too for women micro-entrepreneurs. I'll give you a count from where we start, and on the 100th day, we'll have an entrepreneur with a venture with 10 people being given livelihood, okay, besides she herself being an entrepreneur. So the CEO was pretty excited with this. It's a mega proposal. So he sent, literally 2 weeks from then, exactly 2 weeks from now, we're talking of moving fast and breaking some rules. 2 weeks later, into the university account is sent, not even in parts, the entire amount of 2 crores of CSR money on March 31st is landed into our account. Okay? No quarter-wise telling and etc. saying, if I feel this is the direction, I'm going to back it, here is the full money, we'll talk 100 days later. So today where we stand, I just came back from the 6 months review, which I did, So the program in this 2 crores, I'll just give a little math here because all of us can almost participate in that math. 125 micro-entrepreneurs we are creating. These are rural women. These are women, of course, they do not know English. So we created a tool in vernacular, in Telugu. And so this tool was particularly designed, and this was a tool long back, I had worked when I was at Harvard, to map entrepreneurial potential among, university graduates. But I said, we need to flip this. It has to be repurposed, remade to map entrepreneurial potential among rural women because their mapping is different. I will not be asking them standard questions like that. So through this tool, we did mining. We captured around 2,500 of these women, and all of them had a first level pre-incubation sort of program. There's a boot camp created for them. Subsequently, we said, it has to happen parallelly for them. An incubator, an accelerator, these are all urban constructs, so to say. I have to fuse them together. On day one itself, they have to think of how to accelerate while incubating. Put all of this together, and 30 days later, the ventures got created. How did the venture got created? You were mentioning, for example, sometimes do you have ideas, they ask. And they get discouraged. They say, I don't. I said, well, you don't need to have ideas. Here is an idea pool. The 200 villages that we went to, in each one of them, we said, we want people to come back to rural, right? When they come back to us, if I go back, my wife is going to have the biggest concern is their child care. Okay? My parents are going to have biggest concern is their elder care. So very simple. 2 ideas, every village, 1 child care, every village, 1 elder care. Like this, we created 20 themes. The themes are created. You don't have idea, this is not an idea generation event. This is a venture creation activity. So we gave it ideas. We worked with them. So create the payment gateways exist. They don't know how to connect with it. I'm making Neem toys, but I'm never there on Amazon because I actually don't know how to even make my profile there. Okay? All of these end to end. Now, the example that I want to give here is this is designed in a way to replicate it across the state further. There are more villages than the 200 that we have just touched. Okay? Like we do the entrepreneur in residence, for me, these are entrepreneurs in their own residence, in their own village. They're not going anywhere. And each one of them is an example. And when a woman is made, the kind of contribution she has to the rural economy and to the agriculture value chain in variety of ways, sometimes not even counted the way she is. She's doing the cleaning, the filtering and all of that, not even added as the value chain. When she comes in as an entrepreneur, it is an entrepreneur with a completely different E. It is empathy-led entrepreneurship. Her focus on both the family and the actual environment around her, all of that is going to be so different. So we are seeing in the next batch, out of these 125, have we spent money on them? Only 75,000 rupees per entrepreneur. I had the math saying that out of the 2 crores, this is how I'm going to make 120. 75,000 rupees spent on what? Never on machineries. Because I said, those are your assets. As an entrepreneur, I taught you that you must own your assets. Only on the gaps of things like, how to do the training that you're doing, how to do marketing, how to do brand building. And you are doing neem toys, but your biggest customers could have been, actually not in villages, but in urban, who are thinking, what is my kid putting in my mouth? All of these things. So my point of view is that this is a completely actioned, not actionable, it's an actioned, ready-made template. Can policy-wise, out of your CSR, government says that X% should go for rural CSR. Currently, you're putting society. When you put a society as a word, corporate social responsibility, I think of social responsibility as corporate marketing responsibility. Okay, which means I give it to hockey where my name appears here. My sister works with Coal India, lots of money for CSR, and all that money goes to hockey. Good, but wherever Coal India brand can come. But the question arises is that when it is directed and we convert this, vectorize this whole direction, this mission, is when we decide where the address is going to be. So I think as a policy itself, this can change. From that little polymedia, if that experiment comes to us next year, I have 20 of these polymedias working with us. We will take it to 25 states. And we'll guarantee. So in fact, anyway, we have taken this mission that, within this thing, we must have 1,000 product. My dream is to have a museum very soon, in 3 years, of 1,000 products created from the rural environments with this woman itself from variety of this thing. All the material that they are using also, we are saying it should be something that gets created here. Make in India doesn't have to come from anywhere. India is there. We just have to make it at our home. So I think this program is called Aditri because Aditri is other name for Goddess Lakshmi. And all these people are, they do design of Lakshmi. So I said, from drawing, you draw the energy that you want from there and you start making it. So actively, we can really, from Jay Chaudhary's formula, I really like that, typically in education, we have all this model of there's learning, then thinking, and then acting. So mostly by the time acting chance doesn't come, too late, right? So a lot of learning and then a little bit of thinking and no acting. So we just flipped it and said, acting, thinking, there'll be some learning will draw out of it. There's no theory out there. So I basically think that we want to flip this model, and by design, we fuse these 3 things together and really go out there, really make this happen. Our students, 6,000 of it. There was no course, which was all courses in the university, was for different degrees and different things. I said, I'm going to make one course, which is going to be mandatory whoever is on my campus. PhD scholars, postdoc scholar, MTech, undergrad, anybody. And what is that? Faculty, staff, everybody. So it's called CESE. It is Community Engagement and Social Entrepreneurship. So we have created 2 teams there. One, we talked about how the rural or India got transformed because we used to have PCOs, right? So I call them that, they are something like that. So we created these 2 teams. One team primarily keeps visiting the rural district and only like a sponge capturing pain points. The job is only come back and offload. I brought 200 problem statements. Fantastic, I love it. Then I'll further see how to clusterize it and find out the 5 top ones. But there's a team that works on just pain point gathering. Then there are another team which are the pain relievers. Their job is then come back and say how this is themed to this program and then gets fitted into Aditri and goes into this creating these micro entrepreneurs who will solve their own villages. I can't solve, I'm not even living there. So the entire design, now you see my team of Aditri, this entire machinery, it's just 6 people. But I'm using an army of 6,000 because the students exist. these students itself, at some point of time, then when the venture is created, are pro bono working with these ventures. So my best CSC students are telling them, I'm going to design your site. I'm going to put you up there. My best students in my biotech are working with them to put honeybee, these things in all the fields. The farmer doesn't mind because it's increasing his productivity. And now you're telling them how you brand that honey for it to be selling at the right price. They were selling it as a commodity. All of this is, my business school team works on that. So the whole university, just one example, and this is an example, SRM itself has served 7 universities, different parts, including in Northeast, in Sikkim as well. But this is just one in which, and we are the youngest of it. We're just 7 years old. Decided to do it, and all of this experiment is not even 7 months old. So what I am saying is that we would really I'm happy to share as much insights that we are drawing from it.
What I suggest, we'll have a separate team, our ISF team and KPNB team will sit with you. I think you have a lot of given lot of tangible things which can go into the report also, and some of this will good, excellent. Thanks a lot.
So in fact, Sheshadri had put me on this the skill and employability this thing because many of my own ventures are in that space for the last 20 years. So, but I said, see, if I have a choice, I want to be in this forum because I want to talk about what we are doing.
Thank you. Thank you for opting to be on our panel. Madam, now see, you are heading FICCI Flow. FICCI Flow, all women entrepreneurs, particularly FICCI Flow. I know I was the co-chairman for FICCI. I know how successful entrepreneurs are there with FICCI Flow. How do you connect your successful women entrepreneurs to the rural women leaders? I know in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Dwakra women and self-help groups, they are doing lots of things. Can you provide a bridge between them and FICCI Flow entrepreneurs? See that whatever they are producing, they are limited to in their own local area. They are growing, but not to whatever Ravi was telling. They are not able to go to the world level. We can think of making them a unicorn, right? Because already they have done something, they are doing something, they know the business model. How do we scale them up? Providing good mentors from FICCI Flow and see how we can their products and services can go to the global level and create more unicorns or unicorns or whatever this thing, so that success breeds success. Can you do that?
Yeah.
It's on.
So to start with, thank you very much, and it's been so interesting listening to all the stories and the scale. The scale is not something that we are able to match at this point of time because we are a fully voluntary organization of women entrepreneurs and professionals who come together. We give our time, we give our expertise, and ultimately it's a little part-time, right? So though year on year we are trying to do something, sometimes what happens, the consistency.
Where there is a will, there is a way, madam.
So that's what I'm coming to. I will start with some use cases that I have seen. Usually our tenure is for a year. So in the last 6 months, what I have seen, we wanted to upskill some farmers, women farmers. Our focus is mostly on women, almost always on women. Sometimes if men by default are part of that group or something, then yes, we are not so agnostic about it. So we went to this village in Rawalkol, Mechil village, and we tied up with a Dutch seed company and said, can you skill 100 women farmers in modern vegetable farming techniques? They said, yes, we can help you. And we were ready to fund whatever it took. And so then the team started visiting the villages. And first of all, we thought we'll bring a whole group together and then we will talk to them. Not much traction. Then we said, this is not working. Let's do one-on-one. Okay, so we started going to villages. We started going to the headman in the village, asking them to gather some women. In one of the smaller villages, 2 women came up to us and said, see, we know some amount of farming. We don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, you must be talking about something further than this, right? So we said, we are talking about modern vegetable farming techniques. It's like internationally approved techniques and all that. Then said, okay, but we are growing what we are growing. What is in it for us? So we said, you know what? The real USP is we are training you to be trainers. Okay, and that got their attention. 2 women farmers, you know, one was young, one was oldish, one is in her 50s and one could be in her, you know, late 20s or something. That caught their imagination. And from there, in the next 1 week, we were able to get 100 women farmers. So they are seeing the value in that I am going to be training somebody else. And this could be a continuous, you know, chain of learning and earning. At that level, they are able to get that now. It is not, I do resonate with you when you said that all these SOPs are making them lazy. I've seen that 100 days guaranteed work kind of situation. I have seen people not, we have a resort in the, you know, near Siddipet area. And I have seen for 100 days people don't come to work. They are very happy. They are gathered in these tempos and all that. They're brought to some place, maybe a roadside, and they just move some, you know, some slabs of stone from here to there. Then they're given tea, then they're given lunch. Then again,
they get all the NREG funds diverted to them.
Manrega funds, and that's it. So for 100 days, nobody is bothered. But when we went and told these women that you can train other women and then this can be a continuous process, they were so, you know, they're very enthusiastic after that. So now, unhindered, that project is going on, and we'll have a first product showcase on October 21st and 22nd, where we are expecting the ambassador for Netherlands to come and visit. And that is a success story that is palpable, that is on the ground, and we are doing it. We will continue to do it. There are so many stories like that. We work with Weaver clusters in Siddipet. So there, the government has given them some amount of training, but the women are not actually working on the GI tagged product, which is the Golabhama sari. They are getting livery, which is plain cloth. So the men folk are only giving them that, and the women are very unhappy. They know they can do better. They know.
Can I suggest one thing, madam? Yes. Since we are running out of time and still some more people have to speak. If you get us an opportunity to address all your FICCI Flow members, me, Professor, and maybe some of us will come with the specific targets where your members can help and hold some of the rural entrepreneurs. We'll come with some tangible ideas and how your members can, it's kind of helping the society.
And this is pan-India. It's not just chapter. So we have 12,000 members pan-India.
Yeah, if you can get us that opportunity, we would like to come and request and plead, see that, how they can get connected to their counterparts in the rural area, how we can empower them with a little bit of mentoring, enablement, and helping.
Definitely. I was just telling sir that we are tied up with Virginia Tech for mentorship. So many of our women entrepreneurs are certified mentors.
Yeah.
And we are all willing to give our time.
Yeah. Now I come to Dr. Ravi, who is expert in mentoring, and he has created a company about 15 years back, Ravi? 10 years back, when we were doing when I was, I think, Thai president for the mentoring and all that, then you gave a solution, and he's been a very successful entrepreneur from Silicon Valley. I request Dr. Ravi, with your experience, whatever you're doing, what are the suggestions that you can think will be useful for REF to take it to the next level?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me. I think I'm one of the few people that make this festival international, because I come from Silicon Valley. So really glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I think really enjoyed the conversations. This job cannot be done by one person. And, Mr. Raju talked about the 1.2 billion people that we need to include. Because I believe Indians are inherently entrepreneurial. Okay. And in fact, as I was listening to everybody, the entrepreneurial word itself has the five letters rural in it. So we have to extract the entrepreneurial spirit in rural India that has been subdued over the last 400-500 years. In fact, I call entrepreneur as a word that came from Sanskritam as antar prerana. If you say antar prerana 10 times, it becomes entrepreneur. So that prerana exists in every Indian across the country. Having lived I mean, having born here and having lived in Silicon Valley for the last 30 plus years, I see that spirit across the country. I've been traveling across. So our role is really to bring it out. So in terms of a framework, I was thinking of two that everybody talked about. I think there should be a movement called Return to Roots. Let's create a Return to Roots movement. And I know of cases where people went back to their roots, which is their villages. And then I have a framework which I'm calling it SMART, because we are at a startup festival. We want to come out of a very specific, action. So everybody mentioned it, and I'll put it into a framework called SMART. So when you have somebody who's extremely inspired to go, to their roots, S stands for seed capital. You mentioned about Mudra loans. So let's make sure that is available. Everybody sang the song. I used the word mentor. So that makes my life so joyful, because that's what I made as my life's calling. So M stands for mentorship. So let's extend mentorship. Let's actually guide them. And we also talked about access to markets, because whatever they're able to produce locally with their expertise, with their raw materials. So A for access, and R for resources, because they need to know how to run businesses, how to become trainers, how to become mentors themselves, and how to run operations. And T for talent and technology. So that's the SMART framework that I recommend for empowering our rural India, because having traveled around the world, I have not seen any other country have a vision called Viksit Bharat 2047. In fact, I'm visiting India to actually work on that. And on Independence Day this year, we launched a new initiative, which, Bobby, you mentioned, each one of us cannot do it. So we launched something called Amrit Kal Mentors. Indians within India. I see so many retired professionals. I'm an IIT alumni, did my PhD in Michigan. And there are so many Indians that say, what can I do for the country? When Mr. Modi ji was in New York, every Indian was excited. How can those 200 million really empower the remaining 1.2 million people, 1.2 billion people? So Amrit Kal Mentors, I invite you all to sign up. It is essentially what everybody talked about. India has money, and Shri Rajagaru said you can also print money. So money is not the shortage. It is the guidance. So Amrit Kal Mentors is an initiative we started. So I would be happy to expand on it, because that prerana exists. We just have to unleash it. And the prerana is inside. So you have to really, as entrepreneurs I know, the itch is inside, however difficult it is. And India as a nation is entrepreneurial. We went through so many setbacks, occupations, colonialism, but still, look at where we are. Number 5 in the world, on track to become number 3. So India itself is inherently entrepreneurial. Indians are entrepreneurial. The word rural exists in entrepreneurial. Let's all come together, and I'll be happy to share more information about some of the projects we are doing. And don't copy the Western model. Western model is about top-line growth. Just go top-line, somebody will buy it and you get out. We should really teach, as part of our mentorship, think profitability from day one. At least, keep that in mind. So really, ensuring that the people are able to return to their roots, ensuring we have a smart framework to empower them, and ensuring that they think profitability from day one, so that that inherent prerana is fully unleashed to make India a fully developed country by 2047. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
One point really came up as a result of the prerana that you talked about, that we have seen Indian Institute of Technology, Indian Institute of Science, Indian Institute of Statistics, but we don't see Indian Institute of Development. That's the need of the hour across the nation. And we copy the Western model, like Ravi just said. The economics, the kind of numbers, the metrics, everything is different in those countries. We have a big population. Our average income levels or the poverty levels are very different. So we need to have our own model. And that model can be driven by an initiative, something like an Indian Institute of Development.
Maybe that goes into the recommendations.
In fact, one comment if I can make, even CSR is a Western concept. Let's create a new one called CRR, Corporate Rural Responsibility. That will change the game, because India is not short of money. So we should learn from the West. That's why in my last week's keynote I said, modernize, Indianize, but not westernize. Thank you.
Good one. So we have limited time. Is there any, if the people who wants to, Piyush, anybody can give a mic to Piyush? Sandeep, I will give you mic at the end so that you can give your views from KPMG on this project.
Respected JSA, all the esteemed panel members, it's an honor to, sir, first of all, thanks a lot for making this a roundtable and not just a panel discussion. And this can only happen in an international startup festival where the managing partner of one of the big four companies is now taking the notes to make the changes in the country. That was on an extremely light note, sir. But if this change can happen, I think we are on the way for a merger from Bharat to India.
He is not only a partner, he is a managing partner for 2 states, and we requested him to help, and he is helping because he is also ISF volunteer. No, we are not giving any money to KPMG, but we have that kind of people supporting this cause.
That can only happen in International Startup Festival. A huge round of applause for Sandeep, sir. Okay. So, before I start, it's an honor for us that JSR is an alumni of the university which I'm representing. I'm representing Chitkara University. I'm the senior vice president there, 40,000 strong university. And this is based in Tier 3 city. We have 230 plus startups, and these are the registered private limited companies from the students who are making an impact. 91% of them are coming from rural India. Tier 4 or the villages which we may not have even heard of. So that is the kind of impact. 79% out of them are the women entrepreneurs. So you specifically requested for the low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
And the result. One of the use cases which I would specifically like to highlight and for the benefit of Sandeep ji. Since your last visit, there is one startup which is the second year BBA. They just entered into second year. Second year BBA student. They're running a venture with a gross merchandise value of 72 lakhs per month.
Fantastic.
72 lakhs per month.
Second year student.
Second year. They just entered into that third semester. Okay. Now, what is more interesting is that when we are talking about 72 lakhs of GMV per month, how they are making an impact in the rural India. Their majority of the products and solutions, this is an IoT and data analytics company, smart vending machine. The products are completely sourced from the villages around the university. 72 lakhs. So when we talk about burgers, we don't have to think about McDonald's. We think about the taste of the mother's hand. So the produce, the raw materials are sourced from the farmers. When we talk about chips, right, we don't have to think about every time PepsiCo, the Lay's. We talk about the chips which are handmade in the villages using the best of the raw materials. So that is how they are empowering them. And when we talk about 72 lakhs, the percentage, they are 37% of margin. Gross margins on that. So that is the kind of impact which they are making. And we are working on across all the domain, health tech, fintech. We are working on assistive technologies for the Divyangjan. And these are all done by the students who are coming from the rural area.
Piyush, what I suggest you also work with Sandeep. I think those things, because already you're doing, and that can go as part of the recommendations which are already being done. So offline you work with Sandeep, see that all those ideas, whatever you already done, we will document that how you are helping rural India through that kind of entrepreneurship model.
Definitely, sir, definitely.
Any other such suggestions or anything? Maybe we can take two questions or suggestions. Yeah, give the mic to them.
First of all, very insightful session, sir. I'm very grateful to be part of this and to discuss this. So I have, since we are all talking about the low-hanging fruit, the point that I have might
What's
be...
your name and your organization?
Okay, I'm Lokeshwari representing ICFA Incubator here. So I have 3 suggestions that could be taken. This might be impact a little, but we can discuss it further. So the first one is to support artisans. So in every part of, we are talking about the 2 Telugu states that we have. If I'm not wrong, I am from Sri Satsa Institute of Higher Learning. As a part of my MBA, we also visited AIC SKU incubator. I have seen artisans there, they'll make Pochampalli designs, and if we can create a corporate gifting for them. So we have KPMG here, Infosys here, and Diwali is anyway coming up. So if we can, we also have a startup in our incubator called Gullakari. She supports artisans from all over India, even in the Telugu states. She makes corporate gifting only. She makes diaries and all that. Even AIC SKU has similar stuff, if I'm not wrong. So we can take this opportunity and give corporate gift as a corporate.
Maybe
gift.
what we will do, it's a great idea. What we will do is ISF, if you can pass on who are all manufacturing such a thing from the rural side, and if you can get all the information to us, then we'll reach out to all the corporates, and with ISF, we'll reach out to them. They can select any one of them for their this thing. So can you take the lead?
Yes,
and
sure.
identify what all the items they're manufacturing, at what cost, all those details.
Yes.
Then maybe one of our ISF volunteer, maybe Bipin, you take the Bipin's number, and you work with Bipin.
Yes.
Then accordingly we will go to, because he himself is a country head for a GCC company, so we can start from there.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, one more point I
Yeah.
have, sir. So, to my knowledge, NABARD also has initiative wherein they provide machinery, but as far as I know, about one, mission they're having is they provide this sanitary napkins making machines to the rural people area. And one problem that I found personally in my locality in Kadapa district was there are people to make them. There is machinery to make them, but they don't know how to sell it. Even though government has a platform, digital platform.
So on that I suggest you work with Nabhushan Raju, who is already sitting here on the dais. You sit with him and see how that can be solved.
Yes,
Next,
yes.
who is next?
Good morning, sir. I'm Professor Ramana, N.V. Ramana. I'm the director and senior professor in JNTU. Under JNTU, as you know, that we have so many affiliated colleges. More than 1 lakh students we are producing every year of pharmacy and all branches. So just now I got some idea, because you are working in the rural development. So may I request you to provide some of the content which I can include in the curriculum,
Sure.
because we are revising the R25. Because the engineers have to play a role in rural development.
I suggest
Sir.
you sit with Professor. They already done, experimented, they implemented. Plus behind you, Piyush Garg, they have also done lots of things. I think instead of reinventing, use the whatever they already this thing, and take that, include it in your curriculum. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Who is
you.
next? Yeah, please give them maybe last 2 questions.
Hi, I'm Shweta Raina. I worked at McKinsey, New York, and then I was on the startup of Teach for India. After my MBA at Harvard Business School, I started my enterprise working on upskilling for Indian youth, as well as a foundation where we work with about 5 states on upskilling. But I'm actually here in my capacity as the president for Association of Business Women in Commerce and Industry for Maharashtra state. And my question is really, how can we collaborate interstate? Because, I'm really impressed, and I think this is not just for startups, but even businesses, established businesses and foundations can partner with the work you're doing. So I'm not looking for an immediate answer, but would really love to collaborate between Maharashtra and Hyderabad. I think there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of growth, a lot of focus on commerce, and also giving back. And as a female business leader, I would love to support this initiative in whatever way possible.
Sure, maybe one of our volunteers, Meeru discuss chestar. You meet Ravi Shankar here on the dais after the break, and give your contact details and all that. Then we'll come out with a strategy how we can make it. Okay, one last. Okay, two last questions. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Madan. I run a consulting firm called Empower. See, I have heard a lot of individuals like Manisha from Infosys having a lot of fund, rather disposable things. And, Priya doesn't have fund, but she has got people who can really work on this. And, Srini Raju, he is a strategist by himself in setting up all these things in order. Why not ISF initiate a template or a model which is accessible to the people? Like we have a lot of volunteers in different capacities who can really contribute directly to a stage where they require the right help. And it can be really, it get percolated very, fast. Because most of the entrepreneurs, as you know well, get stuck at some stage and doesn't know how to move forward.
Yeah, ISF is doing that.
Yeah.
What I suggest, behind you, Dr. Bhanu Prakash is there.
Okay.
You sit with him and probably you give your ideas. We are already doing, but we can add some of those. Maybe one last question before we ask KPMG Sandeep to sum up and give his recommendations.
Thank you very much, Jay Garu. This is Raja. I represent two organizations, one Fraunhofer from Germany. The other one is Impact Hub, which I brought to Hyderabad, the first one in India. I think I had a couple of discussions, especially with Tripathi sitting there. And also, I'm really very much honored to listen to this gentleman. I would rather be very happy. We have been doing this from the European perspective. Like one size doesn't fit all. We always say localization is what is important. I think some of them spoke. So recently we did one social impact award program. Again, it is headquartered in Vienna, Austria. I was really searching for these entrepreneurs from age group 18 to 30. Right now, when I hear about it, so we have a visitor in next 3 months, the managing director of this company from Austria. So probably I would be very happy to learn from everyone, hey, how we can connect, and probably Jayagar is one thread where we can always get onto him and then get to this prospective aspect of bringing all the players together. Thank you.
Thank you. So, one more? Okay, one last.
Sorry.
Hey guys, I'm Suraj Kuncham. I'm a 20-year-old student founder.
Little louder.
Sorry. I'm a 20-year-old student founder building in AI and cloud. I've been a researcher with Berkeley in the past for rural entrepreneurship specifically. And I heard a lot of good things from Sandeep sir and a lot of others on the dais. And I just found that there is one problem that has not been addressed in rural entrepreneurship in India and most other places as well, wherever it's struggling, right? Where B2G support exists, NABARD, organizations like that, have resources that they are trying to deliver to the end rural villages and entrepreneurs who are trying to build things, but they simply have no awareness or access to these resources. So creating a platform that can possibly act as the mediator and provide knowledge as well as access to all the open resources, not just government, corporate resources also that exist right now, for end entrepreneurs would be extremely valuable. Considering in the rural sector, the primary thing that is missing is awareness and education, right? For anybody who's trying to build, that might be as simple as a farmer trying to adopt new techniques of farming, or some rural vendor trying to set up a marketplace for his or her own business.
We have a rule in ISF, whoever gives excellent suggestion, they have to take the ownership.
I have tried.
You be the owner for that. Absolutely. We'll help you to make it happen. So with this, now I request, you can, you sit with Ravi. Now I request Sandeep to sum up, and also what is that next phase, how do we take REF to the next level?
I'm glad they taught me how to take minutes at the start of my consulting career. Because what we've heard on the dais over the last, I think, an hour and a half, close to 2 hours now, was a lot of intellectual things that actually work on ground. About a couple of months back, Jay Garu's proposed this concept of the Rural Economic Forum. I had the privilege to be at the World Economic Forum at Davos a couple of times with state government delegations. And what we've seen there was that the who's who of the world across all stakeholder groups are on that platform at Davos once a year. and they exchange ideas talking about world problems, and there are themes there, etc. And he said, I want to replicate that and call it the Rural Economic Forum and host it in India. And India becomes the hub, and then you try and scale that up. Now, World Economic Forum has taken close to 40-50 years to scale and become the brand that is. What he also said is, I need to bring in everybody, the government, the IFIs, the industry associations, the industry, the NGOs, the academic institutions. And I think this panel here is a starting point of all that, because everybody who has to contribute to the REF is here, and also the academic institutions. So there is a lot of inputs that have come in. We had one presentation to the Honorable Minister of State, Government of India, Rural Development, who also gave us suggestions saying, while you are proposing this model, you also need to look at metrics. What is it that you'll achieve on a yearly and 3-year basis? Keep a 3-year horizon and see what will come out of it. They were willing to support. So I think all these inputs will help us detail out that whole concept of the REF. It will start small, probably around Anantapur, and then scale up. So I don't want to repeat some of these suggestions. I know it's all there. It will get documented, and hopefully we go back and present to the Honorable Minister of State. He's given us a couple of weeks to go back. So I think post Dasara we will be there again in Delhi to present to him. So thank you, sir, for the opportunity to be here and listen to such good ideas. I think a lot of them are very innovative.
Sandeep, I really want to thank you in particular because in India, unless we go with a credible organization as a report to Government of India, when I approached him, I told him ours is a foundation without any money, but he came forward and said that this is such an important thing, and he's been supporting. I don't know how many hours of KPMG team is working on this, but definitely we will make sure that you get business from some of our startups and some of our corporates, including Sri Raju and all that. This is a very important thing. The reason why ISF has taken this as an initiative, because if you leave it like that, if nobody is trying to attempt this thing, it will be too late for India. There's a reason why. Already we are late. We have to take this to the next level. All of you who are all sitting in this auditorium, if you have any great inputs for whatever we discussed, please reach out to Sandeep. Sandeep is going to be here and give your cards and all that, give your suggestions, and we'll be making a final report which will go to Honorable Prime Minister. It's a very important at this point of time. I really want to thank all our panel members for giving a lot of informative and also tangible suggestions which can be taken to the next level. Also some nice suggestions came from audience. So with this, we'll have a group photograph, and probably you have some mementos. Yeah, please. Yeah. Let's have a group photograph.